Hey guys, Frank here. Welcome to another episode of Digital Classroom. And Digital Classroom is something really special, because with Digital Classroom, you have the option to interact with us. In other words, it's not just something that I do, we show you the photo shoot, but it's actually the idea that you guys interact with us in our studio. So if you see something where you go like, hey, how does that work? Just interact with us in the chat and we can answer all your questions. Now, we also have something called Super Chat. Now, we don't use the Super Chat as Super Chat because we want to give replies to everybody. But one of the nice ideas about Super Chat is actually that you can tip off your team. Not tip off, of course, but you can give tips to your team. And we highly appreciate it, of course, if you do. Because, hey, that makes it possible to do everything. So, today in Digital Classroom, we're going to have something really special for you guys, because one of the most asked questions, I think, during the year in workshops is always like, what is the perfect modifier? Which modifier do you use? Which modifier do you like the most? And some people are a little bit disappointed that I don't have a favorite modifier. I have some modifiers that I really like, for example, the Fresnel or a softbox, but I also really like the Flashbender and I really like gels, and I absolutely love a snoot. But they all do different things, and somehow people don't get the idea that every modifier shapes the light. That's why it's called a light shaper, right? It shapes the light. So we thought it would be fun today to just do one setup with Nadine, our awesome model and stylist and friend, of course, and just use all the different modifiers that you will encounter during your photo shoot. So we're going to do a big softbox, small softbox, grids, reflector, beauty dish, snoot. Going to use the magnetic system. We're going to use a Fresnel. We're going to do it pretty fast. So you're going to see the images in the screen and you're going to see the setup. We're going to shoot it. I'm not going to use a light meter today for the very simple reason we're going to switch so much that using a light meter will just, in this case, just slow it down. So some images will look a little bit overexposed. I will correct them, of course. But don't mention that to other people that we don't use a light meter today. Okay, if you have any questions, again, please leave them in the chat. Okay, let's do something first, because of course Digital Classroom is made possible by certain companies and we want to give some attention to them. Now, actually from the start, we are being helped by BenQ, and BenQ is a really great brand if you want a monitor for a design job or maybe just to play a game, but most of all for photography. They have hardware calibrated monitors, which means that you calibrate the monitor not via a piece of software just in the computer. You still use a piece of software, of course, but it's connected to a hardware lookup table inside your monitor, and it gives you way better performance. They recently released a new monitors. We have a review online on that, and they recently also released a totally new palette master. That's the calibration software. Now, if you are in the market for a new monitor, just drop me an email, because we still have a few coupons left for a 10% discount. This is only for all European viewers. Okay, so that's BenQ from the start, and also another company that has been with us from the start is Rogue. Now, we are also the distributor for Rogue, so I tell you that right away. We weren't the distributor for Rogue when we started out with them, like I think 15 years ago. The last year and a half we've been the distributor, so that means that I show you the products, but it's also the product that I use. So although we sell it, it's also the products that I use, and I've been using them for many, many years. Another sponsor is Cascable. During Digital Classroom, you see me shooting to an iPad. And you might wonder, Frank, why an iPad? Very, very simple. The computer is used for Wirecast. So that's why we use an iPad. No, I'm just kidding. The iPad is very easy to mount on a stand, and I can just walk with the iPad on the top of my shoulder to another location, and I'm not afraid that it will drop down. Also, an iPad is much better protected against the natural elements, like, for example, sand, dust, rain, or whatnot more. The iPad is fast. It has a very, very bright output. Yeah, I have the 12.9 inch, so we have more than enough viewing distance and size of the iPad. So it just works very fast. And if something goes wrong with the iPad, it's very simple. You just swipe up, you close the app, you open up the app again, and it works. And I hope during the live broadcast everything goes okay, right? Okay, another sponsor for us, also for many years, is Calibrite. Now, as you know, during the workshops, we use light meters and color checkers. Now, the color checkers are, of course, to make sure that you get the proper colors and white balance in your images and a profile. The light meter, of course, is used to get a proper exposure. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that you have 3 coordinates in your colors. I've mentioned that many times, your hue, your saturation, and of course your luminance. Now, the luminance is very important, because if you lower the luminance of a color, the color will look more saturated. Try it out in your studio, shoot a black backdrop with, for example, a red gel, lower the exposure. In other words, just close the aperture down. And at that point, you will see that the red becomes more saturated. And that's a really nice trick, by the way. But this also means that, for example, if you shoot a color checker and it's slightly overexposed, you will get a different profile than when it's correctly exposed. So a lot of people ask me, like, what should I buy, a color checker or a light meter? There is no or. It's like, which leg should I use today? My left, right, or my left leg or my right leg? And I need them both, otherwise I just fall over. You get it right. You need the light meter to get the exposure correct. You need the color checker to get your profile correct. Now, the light meters doesn't have to be expensive. You can buy them on Marktplaats, eBay, or Craigslist for practically nothing, because a lot of people think you don't need them anymore with modern cameras. Are they wrong? So anyway, another sponsor for us, and this is also a brand that we sell, is IQ Wire. Now, of course, we want to shoot to an iPad or to a computer during a photo shoot. And that's a little bit difficult if you want to shoot wireless, because it takes a lot of time. So we're using cables, but not every cable is a tether cable. Now, I love to have distance between my cables, so I'm not using a 4.7 meter, which is the limit for a lot of brands, but we're actually not using the 10 meters at the moment, which is very long. At the moment, I'm using the 15 meter IQ Wire, the new Black Carbon series, and I can tell you already, those cables are absolutely awesome. They work like a charm. And finally, also good friends of us, and also we are the distributor for Click Backdrops. The props is actually gone by the moment, so it's Click Backdrops. And you're going to see those backdrops in a moment also in our studio. So, by the way, why is a backdrop so important? Very simple. The backdrop really enhances your shot. And you can do it with IE, but somehow it just doesn't fit right for me. So what I always like to do is shoot my model against a normal backdrop, so click backdrops with a certain pattern. And then I will use IE in Photoshop to actually expand that pattern, change things around, but then it still feels real. When I just shoot a model against a gray backdrop and I cut her out, somehow it doesn't really feel real. It's always that digital look, and I don't like that digital look. I want that real natural look. And don't worry, I'm not shooting film, of course, we're shooting digital. Okay, so about the modifiers. First things first, a modifier shapes your light. And you have to take that literally. It really shapes your light. So if you want your light to be broad, what you use is a big softbox. If you want your light to be really narrow, you use something that narrows that light beam. We call those grids. We can talk about it for hours. Let's walk into the studio. Emmeloord is going to take over from me behind the desk. And let's just see what those babies can do. And let's start out with a big ass softbox, like the biggest one we have. So are you ready? Yes? Okay. Let's start our digital classroom. And look, there's Emmeloord. So, Emmeloord all alone. Hey, we have somebody from Finland. Hello, Hotakainen. I hope I pronounce it correctly.
It's very cold in Finland.
It's very cold here too.
Yeah.
You know it's cold, right?
I know.
Because my hands are gone.
That's why I wear a scarf.
I thought it was meant if you make a mistake, so I could easily correct it. Okay, so anyway, we have the camera connected. Let's just try something out. Hello, Nadine, how are you? Now look at the styling, isn't that absolutely stunning? Now, of course, when you shoot somebody with great styling, it's very easy to get away with a sleazy backdrop or a nice backdrop or maybe a neon backdrop or, you know where I'm going, right? Sleazy, neon, science fiction. You have to fit the mood. So when I look at this, I see something that's very daring, but also very modern and maybe a little bit, well, teasing. So why do we choose this backdrop? Well, because there's something else that I find very interesting in shots. And that's actually the 60-30-10 rule. 60% of the shot, one main color, one main theme. 30% of the shot, an according color. So that means something that fits in that scene. And 10% of the shot will actually be an accent color. Now, when I look at this, I see this beautiful black. I see that black in the backdrop. I see her skin. I see the skin back in the backdrop. And then the detail could be the red lips, or maybe if she's wearing something. You can do whatever you want, but that's the part that has to jump out. Now, in this case, the red lips won't really jump out, but this will give me a more easy looking image. I can, of course, go for a red gel, a blue gel, a red backdrop, but then the backdrop will take away the ease of the model, and I don't want that. So let's start with the most simple softbox we have. It's a very, very big one. It's the X48. What's in the name? from Gigoto. And well, we aimed it at our model. Let's grab a camera. Let's see what happens. Again, I'm not using a light meter today for the very simple reason time. So we don't want to spend a lot of time with changing everything over. So we're just going to do it like this. Okay, it's on. Okay. So let's see what a big softbox can do. There we go. Now, yeah, there's nothing really wrong with the shot. Actually, I actually love the shot, right? It's cool. But that's more because of Nadine. That's more of the styling. And of course I want to have my shot cool because I light it cool and not because my model is wearing something nice, right? So the first thing we have to take care of is composition. Now when you look at your shot like this, it's a little bit too much for me towards the left side of the frame. So I want him more to the right. Now because I'm using a big softbox, it doesn't really matter where she's standing. So Nadine, can you step a little bit that way? Perfect. And she's still in the beam of light. Now remember this for later today. Okay, now composition, don't do this enough. So let's see if we have a little bit of room on this side. So let's move some stuff aside. And my softbox. And let's move this one a little bit on the side. And this one a little bit back. There we go. And let's take that big softbox and just keep it on the same distance. But now place it on the side of our model. And we just leave it there. We don't do anything else yet. So again, not metering. Now look at the difference. The only problem is my backdrop is way too bright now. And that's because I'm aiming my light not towards my model. I'm actually aiming it just like, just go somewhere. And now, in all honesty, the backdrop is bright. My model is bright, but my model is wearing very dark clothing, so my model will disappear. So I want less light on the backdrop. Now, you can use less light on the backdrop two ways. You can start using grids, so in other words, egg grades by narrowing that beam. Or, easier, you can just move your strobe away from the backdrop, move it slightly closer towards that backdrop. And this is a technique we call feathering. And by feathering, we're using the sides of the light to create a totally different look. Now, look at this. Now we're already getting a little bit more light on our model, a little bit less on the backdrop. And now if I move my model more towards me, so if Nadine can move this way, I'll just move a little bit more. There we go, awesome. Now there's something in photography called the inverse square law, light falls off over the distance. That's what we're using now. So by using that same technique, I can now lower the brightness of my backdrop a little bit more. And because he's now more in front, I can also start to do this. Now this seems ridiculous, right? Because the light is totally aiming towards me and not the model. But look at the effect. We get a little bit of lens flare in the top now because I'm using that black diffusion filter, and the backdrop is really dark. Now if your client goes like, ooh, I really like that, a little bit more light on the backdrop, no problem. Just one finger. There we go. And you have a little bit more light on the backdrop. Ooh, Frank, I really like this. Can you get a little bit more light on the backdrop? Yes, of course. One finger, no, two. And there we go. So as you can see with a big softbox, you can just move around very, very easily your lights. It creates great images. But what if we change the softbox for something smaller and we're going to aim the light more with a grid? So let's switch over our strobes. So let's take this one out of the equation and turn it off. So we're done with this one. And now let's take this one. Now this is again a Gigoto softbox, but this is the 36 one. So let's turn on the strobe. There we go. Of course, we need it a little bit higher without destroying anything. There we go. So now I'm using a grid. I will show you in a minute how that looks. And now I have to aim it a little bit better. Make sure that there's no stand in the frame. And there we go. And now you can see that we're already focusing that light way more on our model. Now, the difference is that with the big softbox, the backdrop was way brighter. Here you can see that we're using a sort of a vignette. You can do the same thing in Photoshop, but it's way better to do it on the set. Can we still feather? Yes, of course. But feathering becomes now way more interesting because due to the grid, we're steering the light much more. So now I can literally just aim my strobe on my model and have much less light on the backdrop than before. So let's try that. Model is closer to the backdrop, backdrop is darker. You want the backdrop gone? No problem. Go here, take that finger, move it forward, so you use the same feathering technique. Probably open up just a quarter stop. And there you go. Now you have a very, very dark backdrop. And anything in between, so whatever you guys want, it's just one finger away by moving your softbox. And now we have a little bit more bright on the backdrop. Okay, let's say that you like this, but you want more attention to the model. No problem. We can go even smaller. So let's take this softbox off. Now all our Gigoto strobes use a Bowens mounts, so it's very easy to take them off. You just open up your softbox and you just click. And another thing that's really cool about these softboxes is when you're traveling, you want to travel easy, right? You don't want to bring a lot of gear. So we have this little lever here. When you pull that, you can just fold up your softbox, push the grid in, because it can just stay. That's no problem. There we go. And now, this is weird, right? Just take it off. And then when you're on location, you just click it in and you're done and you can shoot again. Very easy system, absolutely love it. Okay, so the smaller softbox. Without a doubt, my favorite softbox for really nice portraits. And also in this softbox, we're using a grid. I promised to show you that, right? Now, the grid is an egg grade. So let me move it a little bit closer. So you can see it on the monitor now? Okay. So what it does is the light travels through and is blocked by these black bars in essence. The deeper those are, the more they steer the light towards the photographer. You can have them deep or you can have them very small. The effect is slightly different. It depends on what you want. But in all honesty, if you don't know what the difference is, you probably don't see it. So just buy something that has the nice spread of light that you want. And if you're using it in softboxes, they're often one size. If you use it in reflectors, you can get them in different sizes. And I always advise you to get a kit with at least 3 or 4 different grids. So you can play around a little bit. Okay, let's mount this one on our strobe. Again, with the Bowens mounts, it's really fast and easy. I'm going to start straight in front of our model again. Very boring shots today, although I think they look pretty cool, thanks to the styling. Okay, there we go. Okay, same lighting setup. And this is the smallest softbox we have. And as you can see, it still gives you a very, very nice spread of light. And also from the side, it just looks really, really nice. And then do you see the images coming in?
Nee,
Why don't you say anything?
dat is pas de tweede die nu binnenkomt.
Okay, one moment. It should work.
I did blink.
Oh, it's showing me shots from before. One moment. Okay, it's not coming in. 1 second. Disconnect camera. Connect. Okay. Hey.
Did you accidentally turn your camera off?
Yeah, I did. So this is not a mistake of Cascable. Okay, 1 moment. I'll just close Cascable for a second and open it up again. That's the main advantage of an iPad.
It's really fast.
It's really fast if it goes right. But if it goes wrong, you just reboot it and you're done. So let me see if we can get a connection now.
Maybe Nadine can do a little dance.
I know, you just start a commercial for a second if you want. so we can find out what's going on. Hey guys, my name is Frank Dorhoff and you already completed step 1. You found our YouTube channel. Now, if you look at our YouTube channel, you see that we do a lot of different stuff. We do gear reviews, we do live streams, lighting tutorials, we talk about street or product photography, but mostly it's of course aimed at model photography. And within that, there are so many options. Like for example, what is your perfect workflow? How do we teach our workshops? How do we light our model? Well, you can find everything on our YouTube channel. Now, there is one more option that I want to share with you guys, and this one is really exciting. YouTube opened up the subscribers option, and this gives us so much more options. If you join our subscribers section, the first thing you will find out is that we uploaded a full-length tutorial, more than 45 minutes, talking about gear, lighting your model, choosing your right backdrops, how do we shoot tethered, how do I create my whole workflow, how do I coach my model, why do you walk around your model to create contrast. It's a jam-packed episode and you will absolutely gonna love that. But also on the subscribers section you will find behind the scenes photos, behind the scenes videos, and of course special dedicated live streams for the questions that you guys ask me. But there's even more. Every month we're gonna do reviews for your images. And the fun part about this is it's not just opening that image and showing you, hey, I would have done it this way. No, we're gonna go much further. I wanna have the raw files and I wanna have the original files that you retouched. I'm gonna do a full dedicated retouch aimed at your workflow. So if you edit on the iPad, I'm gonna edit your image on the iPad. If you edit in Photoshop with plugins, I'm gonna try my best to create exactly the same workflow that you have in your studio or at home. So you can recreate those retouches without any problem, because in my opinion, it doesn't make any sense to show you very fancy plugins or very fancy techniques that you can't do yourself. And that's the idea of our whole channel and the subscribers section. We want to make it possible that you at home or in your studio can create professional looking images by understanding lighting, by knowing how everything works, by knowing how colors interact, how your workflow is set up easily. So join us on our YouTube channel, and of course we love it if you would join our subscribers section. It's open now and it starts at $2.99 a month. You're gonna get a lot of information for that. So join our YouTube channel and the subscribers section. Stay creative, keep shooting, and see you online. Bye guys. Hey guys, and welcome to our studio in Emmeloord. My name is Frank Dorhoff, and today I want to talk to you guys about something that we get a lot of questions about. Hey Frank, how do you like this image? Hey Frank, what can I improve in this image? And of course I love to help you guys out. But online I mostly am limited to just saying, hey, I really like it, or continue like this, or change this. I can only do short images because, let's be honest, we get so many questions. So that's what actually got us thinking, and we started a Patreon. Now what is a Patreon? Well, let me put it this way. Do you want an extensive photo critique every month? Do you want the bed phone, where you can directly contact me with any questions you have? Do you want to be member of a group that's closed off on Facebook that have the same interest as you guys? That isn't about putting people down, but it's actually about helping people progress in their photography and retouching. Well, that's our Patreon. Now, by joining our Patreon, every month you can deliver 1 or 2 images. We're not that strict about it. And I will do a whole video. In that video, I will show you how I would do the retouching, what I would change about the shot, and I give you a whole lot of tips. That video is put online on a closed-off website. And it means that only the guys from Patreon can see that video and help you out. So I help you out, and the whole community helps you out. It's just an awesome way to learn. So, if you like what we do, of course the first thing you can do is subscribe to our channels, leave comments, and smash that like button because we really like it, and tell other people about it. But if you want to do a little bit more and help us out creating the awesome programs you enjoy, like Behind the Closed Doors, Digital Classroom, quite frankly, our upcoming podcast, Beyond Photography with the Dorhoffs, and a lot more, then please join our Patreon. I already know you're absolutely gonna love it. So head on over to the link below and start joining our awesome group on Patreon and get a lot of benefits. Thank you so very much for supporting our work. See you online. Yeah, we probably solved it. We're using streaming software to stream to a Chromecast, so I can see our shots during the workshops and of course during the live streams. Now during the live stream, we also have other gear connected to the iPad Pro, and I think something goes wrong there because we switched over the software and now it connects, and with the software running it doesn't. So let's hope that it keeps running now. There we go. So this is with that smaller softbox. So as you can see here, the light is very punchy, it's very direct. And also with this softbox, when we start to move around, you can see that same contrast. But let's first show you something else. When I go for a distant shot, like here, you can really see that vignetting working. So the face is really bright and strong, and everything else is just very nice and feathery. Feathery in the form of the light falls off very nicely. So let's change over some stuff, because now we want to add some more drama to our shot. So we're going to move this one to the side for the second. And turn it off. And we're going to bring something else in. Now, one of the most beautiful light sources, in my opinion, is without a doubt the Fresnel. We're going to discuss that later. But in second place, as most useful modifier, is the strip light. Yeah, this is really my love, the strip light. And why is the strip light so awesome? Very simple. If you want to light a full model, but you don't want any light spill on your backdrop, or if you want to light something very, very broad, but you don't want any light spill, it's on the back on the bottom or the top, that's where the strip light really comes in. Because the strip light you can use straight, like in portrait mode, but you can also move it around like this. So first let's show you how it looks straight on our model. And I'm going to already tell you it's going to look awful. So it's not going to look great. But it's not designed for that. So let's aim it straight at our model. Let's just aim it a little bit higher, of course. Let's turn on the strobe. Channel B. Okay. And there we go. I'm going to shoot underneath. Okay. And as you can see here, it looks very similar to that small softbox. It's a little bit different, but it still has that nice punchy look. So that's okay. The real difference comes in when you start using it from the sides. And let's be honest, it's very clear, right? We're not shooting a full body, we're shooting portraits. So that means that if we have a smaller light source or bigger, it doesn't fit the whole set. That's when you start to look back or start to walk back, and then you see more of that set and you see more of that vignette creeping in on your model, like you saw with the big softbox. Okay, so let's move it to the side. And in this case, let's move it a little bit lower. There we go. This will give you a totally different look. And from the side, the strip lights are really, really nice. Because now you can see that light fall off really aggressive on that side, and the front is almost black, while in the back there's a little bit of light. So now you're coming in that area of chiaroscuro. But the strip light I'm normally using for something completely different. Special effects or accent light. Let's start off with that special effect. One of the cool things you can do with a strip light is let your model stand against the backdrop a little bit. Don't stand against it, but a little bit in front. Move it like this. Move it all the way up. And then aim it down. This looks weird, but it gives you some awesome shots. And there we go. Very, very nice and flat, but it just falls down very nicely. And the more I move my model away from the backdrop, the darker that backdrop will become. So move a little bit towards me. There we go, follow the light. Nice. Let's shoot it from the same angle, by the way. Now look at that. She's really jumping out of the backdrop. The backdrop is really nice and dark, and it's awesome. But where do I use it mostly for? Accents. So let's turn this one in vertical mode again and up. Let's move it a little bit down. And now I'm going to place it all the way from the side of our model. Let's just move it a little bit more to the back. Okay, let's turn it on full power. There we go. And then use a smaller softbox from the front for a nice light. There we go. So now using one from the back, one from the front. Let's first show you the one from the front. Let me see, this is channel A. So let's turn B off. Okay, this is the front. There we go. And then with B connected, I'm getting some light from the side too. And now you just open up that side just a little bit to give that little bit of an accent light. I love this, for example, in Rembrandt lighting, or when you have a really high contrast shot and you think like, oh, that side is really getting too dark. This is the solution, works like a charm. As you can see, it really opens up that side. And of course you can play with this. You can, for example, say, hey, let's go with one. Let's go 2 stops down. So let's go to 1/4. The other one we leave that way. And then the only thing I have to change is, of course, go for F5, 4.5, sorry. And now that one is a little bit brighter and the front is a little bit softer, giving you an effect like this. You could say I'm actually switching my lights towards 2 main lights instead of 1. And now the main advantage is the model can now move both ways. So she can move one way, she can move the other way, and she's still lit perfectly. The only thing is that side will overexpose the skin just a little bit, the other side will be natural. So you can give your customer 2 different looks. Natural, a little bit overexposed. Natural, Vogue. Boring, awesome. You get it, right? Or if your client is a little bit more old-fashioned, great. Yeah, a little bit too daring. But hey, you deliver them both. Okay, so that was one part. Let's move the soft light sources away. So let's take this one off. And let's take the strip light, not down, but at least turn it off. There we go. Now let's try something else. Now, these were soft light sources. Now, a soft light source is not always a big light source. A soft light source is normally a softbox, a strip light, but something with a diffusion panel. And you can play with those diffusion panels, by the way. Nobody tells you you have to place the middle diffusion panel. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want a little bit more oomph in your shot, then take it out. Nobody tells you you have to place the front diffuser. Maybe only use the middle one, or take them all out. You can make the light as harsh as you want. Let's go one step further. Let's go from soft light to harsh light. One of the first modifiers a lot of people will buy when they start doing fashion is the well-known beauty dish. Now, the beauty dish is a very cool modifier, but there's something I have to explain about this one. This is a very cheap one, so we didn't want to do any expensive stuff today, just cheap stuff. And what you can see here is that it's a dish, and the strobe is going in here. Now, as you can see here, there's a little deflector, and the light hits the deflector and then goes back into the dish and out. So let's first do this without the grid. And this is a beautiful light source on skin, but it's also very, very harsh. So you have to do some photoshopping later, or your model has perfect skin. I think the first one, in most cases. Okay, let's aim it up. Ooh. And let's not give it full power, because the beauty dish has a lot of power. A lot of light output, I mean. Okay, let's see, this is channel A. Let's turn off channel B for now. Okay. Let's go back to F9. And that's probably, oh, okay, that's nice. Let's go to 6.3. As mentioned before, you have to use a light meter to get it correctly. As you can see now, it's nice. It's harsh. It's a little bit like that small softbox. It's not spectacular yet, but hey, we're getting there. Beauty dish, nice. Now let's add that grid and let's move it a little bit closer to our model. Or let's first leave it like this, so you can really see the difference. Now most of these grids just click on. Yeah, most. Okay, let's take it off for a second. It's often way easier. There we go. Don't drop it. Then you get stuff like this. Okay, there we go. And done. Same distance. Only thing I added is the grid. Let's move a little bit. Oh, aim it at our model, of course. Can you see through the grid?
Not quite. I'm higher.
You're higher?
Yeah,
Okay. What I'm asking now the model is, can you see through the grid? Because if she can see through the grid, she's in the hotspot of the light. Because if you can see through the grid, you're actually seeing the light. Okay. Distance to show you the vignetting. And there you go. So now we have that really nice tight beam of light. And now it gets interesting when you place this a little bit from the side. Can you see the light? Okay, cool. And just let your model look up just a little bit. And then you get that really nice old-fashioned fashion look. I love this. These are the kinds of shots where you go like, oh, only one light source, that's interesting. Nice. Okay, so let's say that we've got this one under control. Do we have more? Of course. Now, when you buy your kit, you're probably gonna get something like this. This we call an open reflector. Now, I'm not going to show you these because these, you can use them, but okay. Now, there is one thing I have to explain. If you go outside, you need a lot of light, right? Because most of the time you want to kill the sun. Now, with something like this, you have to be careful. First of all, the coating. Of course, it's silver from the inside, and some are a little bit more sparkly. The more sparkly they are, the more light output they will give you. But there's more. This we call the trough. As you can see, this is not really deep. So watch this. This is much deeper. Now, I'm not going to show you the light quality of these two because outside they're awesome, inside I think they're way too harsh, but I want to show you the light output difference. And why you should buy one of those if you go outside, and you should never buy one of those if you stay in the studio. So this is the normal reflector. I'm going to take a little bit of distance from my model. I'm not going to change anything else. Oops. There we go. So normal reflector. Okay, let me just adjust for the light output. Okay, there we go. Normal reflector, very, very harsh shadow, not really flattering, but hey, this was F10. Okay. I'm not going to change anything else. I'm just going to take off the reflector and I'm going to put in the big boy. Remember, F10. Now watch this one. Would be funny if it's exactly the same. You see the skin? Way overexposed. So let's just go to F16. And there we go. F16, maybe F18. That's better. So from F10 to F18. That's, well, can you imagine? That's about, well, I'm letting him calculate. And a week, do you know it?
2.
2 stops? What do you think, Meerte?
I don't know.
Okay. It's very simple. If you have trouble with finding your f-stops, always remember the full stops. F11, F16, F22. So 2.8, 4, 5.68, F11, 16, 22. Now, because we're using in-betweens, it can be a little bit difficult because we're going from F10 to F18. You're going, just round it up from F11 to F16. That's exactly 1 stop. And because we have a little bit in between, we say 1/3 of an f-stop. 1/3. Does that sound like a lot? No. But it is in outside locations, because outside you don't want to run your batteries on full power all day because they recycle slower and you will just kill your battery earlier. By using something like this, you aim that light more towards your model. Now, this is the cheap stuff. If you buy something from a brand like Elingram, Profoto, or Hensel, you get a much better coating. Those are also more than 4 times as expensive as this one. Those will give you about 3 stops of extra light. And they're also a little bit bigger. For Hensel, for example, it's a 14-inch reflector. That's really a big one. This is something in the middle. But as you can see, from smaller reflectors to bigger, that really changes your light output. So make sure that you check that when you go outside. And the light quality is about equal. So that's the nice thing. Okay, so we've done hard light, we've done soft light. Let's create something unique. One of the light sources, as mentioned before, that I absolutely love and my models hate is the Fresnel. The Fresnel is weird because the Fresnel isn't like any other light source out there. It isn't a softbox, it isn't a reflector, it's something with glass. But it's also something else, you can zoom it. Now, in the past, I didn't use a lot of Fresnels for the very simple reason they were extremely expensive. A good Fresnel can run you about 1,500, 2,000 euros. So I never used them in workshops. When we switched to Giotto, I also started looking for other softboxes, like for example the non-light, and I found on their website actually this one. And this is the FL20G. What's in the name? And I can tell you already, you have to buy this one. This is absolutely awesome. It retails in the Netherlands for about 149 euros, including a carrying bag and barn doors. And in all honesty, I compared it to a very expensive one. You see a difference, especially on the edges, so on the lower setting and on the higher setting. But everything in between, it has that Fresnel look. So I actually sold my other one, and I'm now using this one. So now I can use it in workshops again and in live streams. So let's turn that here on. And I'm going to show you something, and we have to turn the studio lights off for that. Because I want to show you what a Fresnel does. So I'm going to turn off the studio lights. There we go. Now, this is the Fresnel in the zoomed in position. So it's on the lowest setting. So what I can do, now I have a very bright spot. I can actually make that much brighter, as you can see here. Now I can aim it straight at my model and get that really nice, very, very harsh, old-fashioned, almost like classical masters look. The output, remember I was f16 on that big reflector? Look at this, it's almost as much as that big reflector. So I'm going to go down just a little bit. You have to aim it exactly, because it's really, really fickly. I hope that was the right term for it, otherwise excuse me. Okay, now let's zoom it again in. So you've seen a few images with this. Now let's zoom it in. And look at the difference. Much brighter, oh sorry, much wider. I also like it. So as you can see, it's very, very versatile. You can really zoom in on your model or you can move it away. When does the Fresnel become really interesting? Remember that strip light? Yes, we're going to use that again. Going to place it a little bit closer to our model. Because now we're using a lot of light on our Fresnel. Okay, move this one closer. A little bit from the side. Aiming slightly forward. And let's also light the backdrop a little bit. Remember that strip light, what I really like, that you can use it both ways. So let's do that now. So I'm going to turn it. And I'm going to aim it slightly at our backdrop and at our model. There we go. Nice. The Fresnel we're going to use a little bit more from the side on the totally zoomed in position, so on the smallest setting possible. As mentioned before, channel B is our strip. So I'm going to turn that one on again. And for now, let's try this on the Fresnel. Let's go another stop down, because the thing is so incredibly bright. And then let's shoot on F9 again. There we go. And this is, make this black and white, and you have this beautiful foggy-like old-fashioned shot. Change the angle of your strobes to give it more impact. As you can see here. Maybe shoot a little bit against the light, as I'm doing now. Okay, there we go. Really nice. Look towards, yes, that's it. Love it. Okay, one more. Awesome. Okay, so we've done the Fresnel. We've done this. I think we're done. No, we're not. Because we also have another system I want to show you. But for that, we're actually going to change our backdrop. And we're going to change the backdrop while you're looking at this. So, to show you how much impact the backdrop has. Yes, we can turn the light on. Of course. Let's just... Oh. Doesn't worry. Don't worry. No problem. It's nothing like the leaf of 64. For people who don't get the leaf joke, watch A Bug's Life, where they all panic because there's a leaf in the way. And the ants tell them, don't panic, it's nothing like the leaf of 64. Go around the leaf. And that's actually what we also do with light, right? If something doesn't work, we change it. So now you saw how that one backdrop looks. Now let's take another backdrop. Exactly the same shot. As you can see here now, this gives a totally different look on the backdrop. And now actually, what I want to do is change my strip light and use it more like this. Very classic, very nice. Oh, of course, both strobes should fire. There we go. Nice. Cool. But now when we're shooting with backdrops like this, wouldn't it be cool if we have a little bit of light on the backdrop, right? Okay, so let's do that first. Now, when we look at lighting, it's all about where the light goes. Do we have light that's directional or omnidirectional? And after the break, I have to take a little bit of a drink. We're going to come back, and then we're going to start using omnidirectional light in the back, or steer the light, even if you have speed lights. So stay watching, keep watching, of course. And we will be right back after these messages. Okay, guys, so we've done a lot of lighting already with our bigger softboxes, but sometimes you also use strobes that, for example, don't use a Bowens mount. For example, your speed lights, or maybe using the round system like Godox, or in our case, Chikoto or Westcott. And there are a lot of different strobes manufacturers out there that don't have that huge lighting, but have a little bit of a smaller footprint. Now, for those strobes, there are also modifiers, of course. Of course, you can buy, for example, a modifier that fits your Bowens, Hensel, or Profoto, or Elingram mount to that strobe. Or you can, of course, use our magnetic system. Now, our magnetic system is from Rogue. And what I'm going to show you now is actually how you can use those smaller modifiers to still create really nice images with high impact and contrast, but most of all, how to combine those. So what I showed you up until now is mostly studio work. You can, of course, take everything to your location and shoot it on location. And when we shoot, for example, what we call in the Netherlands a smoelenboek, that's actually where we go to a company and shoot portraits for their online website or their books. We do bring softboxes with us because it just is a little bit easier for us to work. But you can also use an umbrella, of course. We didn't use the umbrella yet, so we're going to do that at the end. Now, what I'm going to use now is more our flexible set. You will very quickly find out that in the quality of light, there is a difference, but you can still do the same weird stuff you can do with your big strobes. The only thing is, because the modifiers are a little bit smaller, it is easier to place sometimes under certain angles. It's easier to keep in very tight spaces, but the light source is, of course, a little bit smaller. And that means that you have a little bit more contrast, a little bit more edge in your images. Sometimes that's something that you go for. I love it myself. And sometimes you just go like, this is too harsh. And then, of course, you can change everything over, for example, for a small softbox, or you can mount a big softbox on a stand and then just put your speed light or a smaller strobe inside. There are many options for that. So for now, we're using the same backdrop, but I'm using as a main light source, I'm going to use a Frank Doorhof Flashbender. The Flashbender is a very special product. I'm going to show you that in a moment, what you can do with it. But for now, I'm going to use it in the strip light configuration. Now, when you buy a Frank Doorhof Flashbender, you can use it in many different ways. You can fold it up as a snoot. You can use it as a softbox. You can use it as a bare reflector, or you can use it as a strip light. So you have many different light sources in only one package. And the cool thing is it just fits in your bag, even if your bag is filled up, because you just lay it on top and you just close your bag. I'm going to show you that in a second. So main light source, the Frank Doorhof Flashbender with a grid in strip light attachment. So let's go to the set and let's shoot it. Oh, and by the way, there are some questions. Hota Kainen, I hope I didn't miss anything, but you say, I always learn a lot, but when it's seen my photos. Did you send in photos for review, or do you mean I don't see it yet in my photos? Because if you send in photos for review, I didn't get them. Because if we get images for review, and that goes for all you guys, you can send in images to Digital Classroom, just to my email address. And then in the next Digital Classroom, we will discuss those images, of course. Trevor, hi Trevor, how are you? What are the wheeled light stands you are using? Just wondering, are they really portable? No, they're not. And yes, they are. So my favorite light stand, without any doubt, is the Manfrotto. And the Manfrotto, the main advantage is, and we do have two Manfrottos, which we can click together to show, or is that difficult?
No, I only have one.
Okay, I will show you in a minute. The main advantage of the Manfrotto stands is actually, by the way, I can show you very quickly, one moment. Let's go for camera 3. If you go for camera 3, you can see on the sides, you can see the Manfrottos. They have that red band on the side. And the main advantage of those stands is they go really high, the ones that we have. But the real advantage, and Anouk is bringing one, is that they fold up really flat. Oh, let me switch cameras to Anouk, one moment. Camera 1. So they fold up really flat, and then you can click them together. So when you go on location, you just literally click all those stands together, and you only carry one. And often we have like 4 or 5 connected, 2 for the backdrop, 2 or 3 for strobes, and 1 for a stand, and you just carry it as one package, and that's absolutely awesome. The roller stands that you see are Elingram, and I'm just so sorry to tell you that Elingram doesn't make them anymore. If anybody knows a manufacturer that delivers a stand like that, just drop me an email, because I would love to sell those stands to my students, and I would love to have a few more myself, because those stands are absolutely awesome. I can't imagine why Elingram stopped making those. I think even if they put a price tag on it of 500 or 600 euros, they would sell like hotcakes, because those stands are absolutely awesome. We already have them, I think, like 20 years now, Anouk, those stands. And they still function perfectly. They function like new. They creep a little bit more, but hey, I also creep a little bit more after 50, right? We all creep a little bit more. Creep? Creak. You mean like when you move around. Okay, so let's change over the light sources. Are you ready, Anouk?
I think so.
You think so? Okay.
You wanna one of those?
No, can't. Okay, so let's turn on the smaller strobes. Let's see if everything else is turned off. Yep. One of the main advantages of the G-Coto, of course, is our pistol grip. So you can very easily, you don't even need a boom stand. Of course, we call this boom stand, so you can move the boom, literally. But with this, we also have the pistol grip. Okay, let's turn this one on. This is channel C. Okay, cool. Let's raise that up. Now I'm just going to use it on our model like this. Nothing special, nothing more, just channel C. Let's turn channel A off to prevent any problems. And let's connect channel C. Manual. Perfect. And let's lower the volume a little bit, the output, sorry, to 1/4. As the Flashbender does give a nice punch. And let's change the ISO. Okay, there we go. Okay. This is just from a distance. I didn't take any notice yet on setting it up, and you get something like this. Now this is just straight out of the box, boom, on the stand. As you can see here, it doesn't really excite me yet. I want something a little bit more interesting. Now, because I'm using a red backdrop, I would love to have that red to really jump out. Remember that 60-30-10? In this case, maybe create some high contrast. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Flashbender and I'm going to place it a little bit more on the side of our model to create that really nice accent lighting as my main light. But now, I'm using another modifier. I'm going to show you this very quickly. This is our magnetic system. Now in this case we're using it on a G-Coto GT250, so that's a round strobe with a magnetic head. And this is the trick. This is an omnidirectional dome, and it means if the light hits it, the light will spread out everywhere and create a very beautiful soft image quality. Let's try that on our strobe without any gels or modification. So I'm going to place it here. I'm going to ask my model to step one step forward. Very important now. Let me help you. This one there, and this one. There we go. Perfect. And now we have room. So, there we go. Then we're going to turn up A before I would drop. I don't want to fall. Channel D, and I'm going to aim it at my model, or not. No, I'm not going to aim it at my model. I'm going to do this. I'm going to sandwich it between my model and the backdrop, depending on where I want it. There we go. Okay, channel D. So let's turn on channel D in a manual mode. Let's not do that too much. Let's do that on half power of the other one. Okay, there we go. And as you can see now from the back, you get this reflection, right? But you also get it on the model's arm. And this is the nice thing about the omnidirectional dome. When you use an omnidirectional dome, you get light everywhere. So you can use it as an accent light. You can use it for lens flare, and you can use it on the backdrop. But when I look at this, it doesn't really excite me yet. I don't go like, wow, this is awesome. No, it just takes away our backdrop, right? It lowers the value of our backdrop because it's just white. Let's switch that over. So on this one, I actually prepared, today I came prepared. I have a red gel and a grid, and it's all magnetic. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place a grid in the middle. I want to steer that light a little bit. So I'm still using it omnidirectional. I'm just going to take the edges off. So I'm going to use a grid inside an omnidirectional dome. Who thought of that? We did. Why not? So the light will be slightly less broad. There we go. So I'm just taking the edge off, as you can see here. So no more reflection on the backdrop. So omnidirectional dome doesn't mean you can't use a grid. As you can see here, be creative, be daring. Don't do stuff that's in the manual, do stuff that's not in the manual. And now we're going to aim at a red gel in front of the grid. So first the gel, then the grid, then the dome. That gives you the most saturated colors. That's BS, by the way. It doesn't matter where the gel goes. As you can see here, I'm now losing a lot of light from that backdrop for the very simple reason a gel takes away light. And on the gels, there's a number printed, for example, -2, -1, and that means how much light you lose. So that's why we lowered the output. So let's up the output again and compensate for the loss. There we go. And now you have that beautiful red on the back. Look at that. Now let's say we want this even more exciting. I want something that really spreads around, that gives me that lens flare, that gives me something where I go like, woo, this is awesome. Let's take the grid out again. Let's erase the strobe. And let's aim it towards the camera. And because I'm taking the grid out, I still hope I get a little bit of light on my backdrop. And this is a little bit trial and error. More error than trial. But when it works, it works. Now let's lower this down. Move it a little bit forward. So I'm not want to lose too much on the backdrop. There we go. Okay. Maybe a little bit more like this. And let's feather our Flashbender a little bit. So the grid is out now, so I'm spreading again a little bit more. As you can imagine, we didn't test this, so it would be a miracle if it worked straight away. Well, there's the miracle. Wow. This is really nice. You see how that red now really blooms? But I need a little bit less. Remember what I told you before? Move it just with your hands. You don't need anything else. Unless, of course, you're very athletic and you want to do it with your legs. There we go. This is nicer. Awesome. Nice. Okay, let's take this one out of the equation. Let's say that you're on a location and you don't have all that stuff with you. You only have the Flashbender. Oh, okay. It's no problem too, because the Flashbender can do a lot of stuff. Let me first take it off, so I can show you guys. Now, one of the things that I love about the Flashbender is that you can just take this off, and now you have a bounce card, which, of course, you can bend. But there's more. We have softbox attachment, which I personally only use on certain locations. And, well, and this is a new one still. It's a little bit more difficult to fold. But as you can see here, there we go. This is how we designed it, to be the most flexible light shaper on the market. And now we have a snoot. Awesome, right? Okay, but for now, let's do something else. Let's use it as a Flashbender. And the first time I used it. So the first time I saw it, I was going like, hey, this is interesting. You can bend light. What can we do with it? So let's mount it on the strobe again. There we go. And let's place it against the backdrop. And Nadine, you can stand against the backdrop too. And let's just, yeah, I think this is nice. Let's move it more forward. Pistol grip up. Nice. I want to let the light down like this. Okay. Aim it towards my model. Okay, first setup. Now, this will look terrible. It won't look right. But hey, we're not done yet, right? So let's turn off channel D for now. So we only have channel C. Okay. Now, as you can see, we have that really nasty light on the top, and the light doesn't spread out very nicely, but in intention, it looks nice. The main advantage of the Flashbender is that we can bend the light away from the backdrop. So I'm not moving my strobe at the moment. I'm only bending the Flashbender. So if you're very tight in your location, look at this. Now we have way more lens flare in the top, because that little piece is now actually aiming that light back towards my camera. So now I have lens flare. But what if we want more light on our model? No problem. Aim it like this. And no lens flare, but maybe a nice pattern on the backdrop. Let's try that. The only disadvantage is you can never do the same thing again. It's a little bit like clay. It's always a little bit different. So I think this is nice. Let's aim it a little bit more down. There we go. So we get this nice round effect. Maybe a little bit less on the back. There we go. You can literally just see what the light's gonna do. And there we go. More lens flare, but also more light. So we have to lower the exposure. There we go. And nice. And I just love that lens flare it gives me. If you don't want that lens flare, no problem at all, of course. Just take the filter off or shoot from a slightly higher position. And the lens flare will be a lot less. Or, for example, shoot from here to optimize your more flat light. Or shoot from the other side to optimize your contrast. There we go. This is awesome. Look at that. Look towards the light if you want. Nice. Oh, I love this. Okay, so now let's say that you're on a location and you really want to pinpoint your model. So you go like, ooh, I really want a nice light on my model. For example, in a wedding, we have people walking around and I just want to pinpoint my light. So we've done broad light, contrasty light, accent lights from the side, gels, lens flares. Now we're going to do the most important thing and the most difficult thing, using a snoot. So first things first, we're going to use the Flashbender as our main light source. I'm going to fold it again as my strip light. So I'm going to take this off. And I'm going to do the strip light attachment on again. And it's all Velcro, so it's sticky. And it's very easy to do. As soon as you get the idea, it's a few seconds work. Just make sure you make it tight. That's why I take a little bit longer. I don't want any light leakage from the side. And if you assemble it really fast, sometimes you will just forget a little piece. And when there's light leakage, that doesn't look right. Anyway, can you also get me the umbrella, please? Of course, with the diffuser. Yes, the black one. Okay, there we go. Strip light. There you go. Nice. Of course, we have to lower it now. Okay, main light source. Move a little bit that way. Perfect. And down. Awesome. Okay. So that's our main light source, you might think. Well, actually it isn't. We're going to switch this over. So we're going to move this one actually to the side. This is going to be my accent light. Our main light source is going to be something completely different. There we go. And we can get the magnetic snoot, please. Now you see that you can literally steer the light with grids. But there's one more modifier you can use to steer light, and that's a snoot. Now, when you are on a location or at a wedding, you want to make sure that your bride and groom or your subject jumps out. So let's say you're at a dance and there's not really nice lighting. What you can do is give your assistant a snoot and just let her move around with a portable strobe, aim it towards the couple, overexpose the couple a little bit, underexpose the rest, and now you get a really nice high key moving shot. But in all honesty, when you're on a wedding, you can use our omnidirectional dome in this pocket, but you can't put this in a pocket. It will look really weird if you walk around all day with a snoot in your pocket. But you still need this one. So we thought of something that's way more smart, and that's a collapsible snoot. That's this one. And it actually comes with a little bit of a trick. Setting 1, setting 2, setting 3, and setting 4. That means that we now have 4 different ways to light our model. We can do it broad and we can narrow that beam constantly. But there's more. On the back, I'm actually using a diffusion gel, as you can see here. And that means that if I'm using a round strobe, I don't need the diffusion gel, it's just round. But when you use a rectangular strobe, you can use the round diffuser to get that really nice round image. But if you take it out, you get that really nice square image. So you can also work with that. So you get 8 different ways to use this strobe, this modifier from one. And if you're really creative, you can also do it like this. But okay, let's see what it does. So I'm going to use it in setting 1 first. There we go. Let's turn this one on. And this is channel D. And this is channel or group D and C. Okay. I have to make sure that it aims directly at my model. There we go. Now I have no okay, perfect. Okay, are you ready? There we go. So this is on one setting. And yeah, it really narrows that beam of light, not enough for me. So let's open up just a little bit, by the way. Okay, there we go. Nice, but no cigar. Let's open it up. Let's go for setting number 2. Oh, that's better. Let's go for setting number 3. Nice. And let's go finally for setting number 4. Now we have that really nice narrow beam of light. But of course, with a narrow beam of light, you also want a little bit accent lighting. So this is where we're going to use this one again, the Flashbender. And of course, we love that backdrop. So we're going to feather it in between our model and our backdrop. And this is why I placed that one a little bit lower, because now I know I can always open up that Flashbender. So let's turn on the Flashbender. Very nice. Are you ready? Nice. Cool. The Flashbender is now way too bright. So let's turn the Flashbender down even more. Cool. And now comes the really cool part. Because the Flashbender is also mounted on a magnetic system, we can of course use our gels. So let's take that red gel again and a converter. Let me see. There we go. So this is a rectangular strobe. I didn't take that into account, excuse me. So I have to put a converter on. And over that converter, we will actually place the Flashbender. And of course, during a live broadcast, everything goes wrong. Oh yeah, but... Oh, okay. I will try this one first. I know you... On the GT200, it's a very nice fit, but it's a little bit tight on the sides. There we go. And as soon as it's on, guys, you don't need to take it off anymore. So this is a one-time deal, and we do it a lot for demos. And every time it's the first time, it's a little bit tight. There we go. And then you can just leave it on. You don't have to take it off anyway. We just do it for demo purposes, but in the end, on my own strobes, they're always on. Let's give it a little bit more space. It's a little bit wider now. So we'll change the mounting strips a little bit. There we go. And the Flashbender is of course also designed to fit perfectly with our magnetic system, as you can see here. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, this is version 3. That's a little bit wider in the connections. Yep, so we have 2 locking systems now instead of 1. And especially when you mount it like this, it's a really nice connection. It's really tight. You don't have the feeling like, hey, it's gonna fall off. It's very nice, very well thought of.
And they improve the grid as well.
Yes, everything is included. Okay, correct for the loss of the gel. And there we go. And now we have in our Flashbender with red gel. Look at that, isn't that awesome? Now when we change this one a little bit to the side, and now you have a really nice old-fashioned shot with everything that fits in your bag and doesn't cost you your whole budget. Nice, Nadine. Thank you. Okay, so you think we got all the modifiers, right? We have 1 more left. So that's one of my favorite modifiers. And I have to explain why. So the first thing you often get when you buy your kit is, of course, an umbrella. Now, don't we all just hate umbrellas, right? You can't steer the light very easily. An umbrella is very fragile, it breaks down easily, but hey, they're that cheap, so why not buy another one? Well, because umbrellas don't look nice. Well, that's the going opinion, and I totally agreed with it. Up until Rogue asked me, like, hey Frank, we have a new umbrella, and it's fiberglass, you can't break it anymore. And they're right. But do you want to test it out? And I was going like, I'm not really the guy for umbrellas, but you know what, I will try it out. The nice thing is, why do we hate umbrellas so much? Because the umbrella was the light source we started with when we started photography. And at that point, we didn't have any control over our lighting yet. Now that you're further in your career, you probably have way more control over your lighting. And now the umbrella becomes one of the most versatile softboxes, modifiers, and whatnot more. This one is very special because this is the black one with a diffuser panel. And I'm going to show you very quickly what it does. It mimics a big ass softbox. So first of all, aim the strobe up and just place it in the holder. Every strobe will have an holder for an umbrella. Now in this case, I have to move it a little bit forward. There we go. Now this is a so-called reflection umbrella. So that means that it doesn't work like this, right? Because now it lights me. So I have to turn around the head. And there we go. Let's change the angle a little bit. Let's move it a little bit more inside. There we go. I think this looks fine. And this is not a really powerful strobe. This is just a 200 watts, or 250 in this case. But as you can see, it gives me a boatload of light. So let's just correct that very quickly. Sorry, guys. Normally we use light meters, of course, very important. Today we don't. Now look at this super, super soft quality of light. Very flattering for your model. Your models will love you when you use this, especially on skin. Just looks awesome. And for portraits, it doesn't do anything less than a softbox. It's just great. And the nice thing is you can still feather it very, very easily. Now, of course, it will spread a little bit more than a normal softbox with a grid, of course, because there's no grid on it. But you can still use it from the sides very effectively. Look at this. And if you think, hey Frank, that's a little bit too dark on the model, I want a little bit more. You learned it already. Follow that line. Draw a circle in your mind. And just move your strobe along that circle. And then you get a little bit more light on your model. Nice. Shoot a little bit more from here. A little bit more flat. Or from here with a lot of contrast. There we go. Okay, so let me switch back to my desk. Thank you, Nadine. You did awesome. Okay, and camera 4. Okay, so we went literally to almost every modifier that we use in less than an hour and a half. Now, the main thing I hope you guys get from this is that every light shaper, every light modifier does exactly that. It modifies and shapes the light. It can shape the light in the form of compressing the light by using, for example, a grid. It can compress the light by folding your light source, for example, like with a Flashbender. You can pinpoint your light by just folding it a lot, like for example with a snoot or a grid inside a snoot. But there are no rules about photography except if it works, it works. And one of the things that I think is the most interesting about, for example, a system like the magnetic system from Rogue is that you can just use it as Lego. You can use different combinations, you can stack stuff, you can maybe put the gel in front of the grid, after the grid, and just see what works. One moment. And there we go. Let me see. After this, I'm going to give you some more info. But first, we had a little bit of a problem, and I hope you guys can help us out. So, there we go. Hey guys, Frank here. Welcome in our studio. Today we're working on a great set with zebras. Anyway, if you want to be updated on everything that we do concerning tutorials and new videos, of course, new products, or maybe interesting workshops in your area, or if you just love to be inspired, well, subscribe to our newsletter. I will leave the link here, or whatever media we're using. So follow that link. We will have a Dutch one and an English one. They're totally new, so if you're already subscribed to our newsletter, do it again, because the old one we won't be using anymore. Now, like you guys, we hate spam. So that means that we don't send out the newsletter unless we have something really interesting to tell you guys. And as mentioned before, every newsletter has an inspirational tip or a little video. So make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. And the link, well, you find them anywhere, somewhere there, or maybe down below the video. Anyway, wherever the link is, click it and subscribe. Thank you so very much. See you again. Bye, guys. Don't worry, we weren't gone. We're back. Okay, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel, of course. Please subscribe to our newsletter, because we lost our English newsletter. So we're building that up from the start. And then we thought, you know what? We hate spam just as much as you do. And if we have to build up a whole new newsletter, we're going to do it totally different. So every newsletter, as I mentioned in the video, we're going to do a tidbit of information, inspiration, video, especially for that newsletter. Now, if you join our Patreon, that's even more interesting. It starts at $1 a month, so who can't afford $1 a month, right? First of all, it helps us out enormously. The other part is you get a lot from it. For example, today we started doing in 2024, we started doing a live broadcast during our photo shoot. So this morning we had a photo shoot with Nadine and we did some live streaming from there. And we're going to do that every time. So when something comes in our store that's new and interesting, and Enrico Meerta, our intern, will take a camera and do a little live stream. If we are doing a workshop or a photo shoot, we will do a little bit of a live stream, and that's just for Patreon. So join us there and you get a lot of stuff. And of course, every month we do a portfolio review for somebody, and that's a whole dedicated video, often about 20 or 30 minutes. Really interesting, I think. Are there any questions? Okay, now I see the answer from Hotakanen. Looks too easy, try self, and it's a pure mess. Yes, I'm not going to tell you that everything that I do is easy. It looks easy. And I want to give you an example for this. Now, I love to play guitar, as you guys know, and I'm not talking about these kinds of guitars, although I have one of those, but I like to play the full-size guitars. Now, if you want, and this is just totally besides Digital Classroom, look me up on Spotify or your favorite streaming service or BandLab. I'm just using the name Frank Doorhoff. But one of my main examples or my main inspirations is a guitarist called Steve Vai. Now, when you look at him and you see him playing, you go like, okay, just stop, just throw away your guitar, burn it ritually, because there's nobody better, and I can never do that ever. Because every time he picks up a guitar, he just goes like, he plays like, look at Tears of the Hydra, for example, he plays with two hands, he plays the bass, a harp, a guitar, a cedar, and whatnot more, and he does it live, all together. The only thing he needs is a drummer, and you go like, how is this possible? Other bands can't even do one live track without a backing track. So when you look at somebody like that, everything goes easy, everything goes smooth, everything is just flowing out, and you feel so frustrated. And then during Corona, he had a lot of live broadcasts, and one of them was actually about the psyche of musicians and, of course, artists, creators, guys like you and me. And he told something that was very interesting because he was having his arm in a sling, and he said, yeah, you probably wonder why I have my arm in a sling. So I was practicing this song, and I was meditating on this chord for 6 hours. Just remember what I just tell you guys. He was meditating on a chord for 6 hours. 6 hours on one chord. And then he said, yeah, then I found out that I tore something, so I had to need surgery. So when you see him playing that song with his arm in a string, you go like, I can never do that. But one chord, he did 6 hours of practicing on. And then somebody asked him like, yeah, but I always fail. How do you find the courage to practice one chord for 6 freaking hours and strain yourself that you need surgery? He said, in my life, there's only one rule. And I use this in all my seminars now. There's one rule in life. Actually, there are 3. And this is my own opinion. You can give up, give in, or give it everything you got, right? That's the first part. The second part is never use the word failure or I create a mess. For the very simple reason, you don't create a mess, you don't fail. The only time you create a mess or you fail is if you stop afterwards. Everything that you do that doesn't turn out the way that you want it is a victory, because you now know how you're not gonna do it again. So every time you fail, you're actually winning, because you're learning a way to not do it. This is very valuable, and it keeps you interesting, because now every day when I miss a chord, I go like, victory, never do it like that again. Then when I miss the chord again, victory, never gonna do it like that again. And then at one point it just fits. And you know why? Because if you are positive to yourself and you tell yourself this is a victory, it's not a loss, I'm learning, you will learn twice or 3 times as fast. Now you have to realize that I'm doing a lot of demos in very, very tight spaces, like on trade shows. I know my gear by heart. I know when I change my modifiers, I know that one modifier will give me approximately 2 stops more of light. So in essence, what you see today, it is set up without practice, and it is set up, and the image came in very nicely, to be honest, but it's not all pure luck. I actually know behind the scenes exactly what I'm doing. I do need a light meter to get it correctly, but I can get very, very close by just knowing my gear. So if you don't know your gear right yet, and you don't know your lighting yet, don't expect to set everything up like I do, take a picture and it's right. Don't feel disappointed by that. It's a victory if it doesn't look right, because it means you have to learn more and watch more digital classrooms, of course. So I hope that answered your questions a little bit. Are there any more questions in the chat? If not, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do the next digital classroom. The next digital classroom we're going to do probably from our home. And we're going to answer again all your questions, including we're going to do some retouching. And I'm going to use the iPad in this case, because I don't know if you saw it already, but Adobe released a new version for Photoshop for the iPad. They constantly upgrade it, but the recent update also included a generative fill. And that means that now on the iPad, imagine this, on the iPad, you can use generative fill. And in the next digital classroom, I'm going to show you some images that we shot. I'm just going to show you how you can easily use normal backdrops, like for example the click backdrops we're using, and just extend them to something a little bit more interesting. But for that episode, we do need your support and input. So send me your questions, send me stuff that you can't figure out yourself, and I will help you out with it, I hope. So we're going to answer those questions, and we're going to show you a little bit of retouching. And when is the next episode in a week?
Well, actually, it was Valentine's Day, so I thought we do a live shoot.
Oh.
You're the boss.
Okay. It's a Valentine's Day, so we're not going to do the live shoot. We're just going to do a digital classroom. So, Annemiek, do we have any more news?
Open house?
Open house, yes, on February 4th?
Yeah.
February 4th, we have an open house in our studio in Emmeloord. It's going to be awesome. We're going to show you our products, and of course we're going to show you 2 live demos with our models. We're going to show you how I set up the lighting. It's a little bit like the best of the workshops in just a little under 45 minutes to an hour, and we have a lot of discount offers that day. So make sure you visit our open house. You do have to register. Let me give you very quickly our email address for that. Just go to our website for photographyworkshops.nl and just find there the open house or Studio FD. I don't have that here, I believe. No. Okay. The other thing is, of course, you guys love workshops. So we decided, you guys have so many questions about what do you do during a workshop. So we decided to do 2 workshops, not this Saturday, but next Saturday and the Saturday after that. So the 2 Saturdays before our open house, we're going to do a selection workshop. So that means that over the years, I've taught many, many workshops, and there were certain setups that always come back where you go like, that's so much fun because I can change it around. I can do funny stuff with it. There are a lot of jokes in there. I can just change the lighting, and this is really interesting for people. So we decided to put 4 or 5 of those setups in each workshop and just do 2 workshops for a lower price, so 150 euros a person. Maximum group size is 7, so you can still shoot yourself, and it's a one-on-one experience. And those workshops are going to be like a collection. We call them the all facets of light, and they are taught in Dutch. So make sure if you're in the Netherlands and you speak Dutch to follow those workshops. And another thing is the ultimate weekend. You guys have been asking me a lot about it, and yes, we have planned it, and the dates are in a week.
19, 20 and 21 April.
Okay, 19, 20 and 21 of April. And I hear you going like, Frank, that's 3 days. Isn't the ultimate weekend normally 2 days? Yes, but we switched everything up this year. So all the workshops are new. We have new material, sometimes the same titles, but it's all new material. And we're going to incorporate a gaming element in all our workshops. So that means that people have to do one setup themselves and compete with me in 10 minutes. So you guys have 10 minutes to create a great shot. I will do the same thing in 10 minutes, and then we'll see who wins. I hope the students win, of course. Not. And of course, we're also going to do our ultimate weekend differently. This time we're going to do it this way. We're going to do 1 day in the studio with lighting and everything, retouching and whatnot more. We're going to do 1 day on location. We're going to go to a location in our area or around our studio, depending on the weather, of course, and depending on our mood and what the students want to learn. And the 3rd day, we still have to decide, but we're going to ask you guys, the visitors, of course, what you want to do. We're going to go to Urk. That's a very close fisher town. It's absolutely amazing to shoot. We can go to Amsterdam to do street photography, or, and that's my personal favorite, we bring you all with us to the Orchard Farm. It's very close to our studio. It's a beautiful, beautiful area with a lot of nice flowers. There are monkeys there. There are llamas, whatever. There are flamingos. It's great. And if you bring your kids to the ultimate weekend, sometimes people bring their kids and they stay in a hotel. That's also the day where you can bring your family, because there's a totally kiddies park and it's just an amazing place. So we can go to Urk, Amsterdam, or the Orchard Hoeve. So it's gonna be a very, very nice, interesting weekend. The pricing for the weekend and a week is
$5.99.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Is that including VAT?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
One moment. Are you sure that's the real price?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. It's $5.99. So 599 euros for all 3 days. We take care of all your needs. So not all your needs, not all, of course, but we're going to take care of all your needs, no medication, but we're going to take care of your food, your drinks, your snacks. The only thing you have to arrange, of course, is your hotel or the place where you stay. If you come with an RV, you can park next to our studio. No problem at all. We hook you up to the power. Okay, if there are no more questions, and there aren't, I would like to thank you so very much for watching, guys. Please leave comments below, but most of all, tell other people about our channel so we can grow. We're still stuck at about 26,000 subscribers, and this year we want to break at least 30 or 40,000. So tell people about our channel so we can grow. Thank you so very much, guys, and see you again next